hand tied, you put the acrylic on second after. Yeah, this time you're going to put the acrylic on first, okay? So I usually find one corner of my cellophane and I lay it down, and then I bring it over above the binding point. It's difficult for you to see. So I go above the binding point here, and then I bring one of the sides up and I lay it sort of against my hip, and then I bring this side up. Okay, so my hand is above where the string and tape is. So you want it fairly tight so that it is secure. If you go the cellophane too baggy, it goes wobbly with your water. So you want it enough to be secure. And then I usually tie it with the same colour of what my bow's going to be. I don't ever really do sellotape because I find sellotape goes quite thick and you don't get a tight finish. But I know in lots of shops they do sellotape.
It goes quite bulky, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you can't get that tight binding point. So I sort of go round there to make sure it's nice and firm. Okay, so you've got a nice firm binding point. Now you don't need to worry too much about the cellophane so much. If you've got lots of cellophane here, then I would recommend cutting it. But this is not really going to be seen. So that's your sort of first bit to do. And then the second bit is the only downside to this style, it uses a lot more tissue paper. So you need to think about your colour scheme. And this is where your sort of colour wheel comes into it really. So this was nice, because you've got to pick out the colours that are in your design, but I thought it was quite bright. So what you can do is use other colours, even purples and things like that. What Elaine does a lot is overlays tissue paper to create different effects and moods. So by using sort of a creamy on top, it just slightly gives it a bit of a softer tone. Or lilac also does as well. She also used orange under like a baby pink, and that was really effective. And you wouldn't think orange goes with this, but under sort of a lighter pink, you sort of picked out the colours in there. So don't be afraid to experiment with your colours and see what sort of moods or effects it gives you. So I'm going to go for the cerise pink and the cream. And you use four, so I'm folding it in half to start with, and the rolled edge here is the top, okay? So about a third, about here, you're going to start to sort of gather it in your hand. This sort of look.
You've done that before with cellophane, haven't you?
You may have, yeah, possibly, yeah. Yeah. So you just put that to one side, and you need 4 of them. So that actually uses 8 tissue paper. I'm just finding where they are. I don't want to crease that because I don't want a line going around my bouquet, so I'm just trying not to touch this part here. I want to start folding it too much. Twist, and then we've got 2 more. And it's quite interesting actually how, as I say, by using really experimental colours, it really does have an effect on the flowers as well. It brings out certain colours in the flowers. On the bottom. Okay. You need to make sure you have a bit at the bottom, that's why I think it sideways. Get a bit more control with it. And then one more. And then again, do the same. So I'm doing it about a third of the position, not halfway. But obviously, if your hand tub is quite small, then you would do it to where, this is where your binding point is going to end up. So obviously, if your design's small, you'd hold it a lot higher. So I'm just going to take this to one side. Again. You'll need a big piece of cellophane in a second. So what we then do is we start to work this around your bouquet. Now you've got 4 to go round. If you've got, again, if you've got a smaller hand tie, you may need to do 3. Now the important thing is here is making sure that these line up so it looks like one sort of continuous piece. So I'm going to put a little bit of tape just to hold them together. Probably have got away with 3 maybe. Sometimes what I find though is if you do it too tight and you stretch these round, what happens, it just sort of makes it a lot more tighter. Whereas if you just do it a little bit more looser, it gives you a little bit more flow. Just to stop it from moving. Again, let gravity work with you, so hold the bouquet upside down so that you can actually, and I would work on one little piece at a time, don't try and do both, so just do this bit first, and then this piece. Now, you can tie it with a string because it's not going to be noticed, but just because I've got a little bit of the ribbon here, I'm just going to tie with a bit of ribbon. Just keeps us all in one place, nice and neat. Gives it quite good impact actually, which is quite nice. It adds to, like, you know, not a lot of flowers, adds to the actual bouquet. But you just got to factor in the charges. Yeah, and you could, you know, changing the colours really. It's really interesting watching it. She changes a lot of the colours. Okay, so you've got that bit. And then you want to add something here. So she had a long piece of cellophane, which was probably twice that you'd normally go round. Okay. And what you do is you gather. Now, remember, cellophane's slightly wider. I've already cut this. So you roughly work out where your binding point is and to the top. So where you roughly want your cellophane to end. So do you want it to end there? Do you want it to be slightly a little bit above your tissue, which probably usually is. So my cellophane's going to go there. Now remember, this was long, so it's about here. So she gathered it and then she measured it and cut this off. So about here you start to then gather. Getting carried with the tissue paper going along. So I would first of all gather it like this first. You've got it all together in your hand. That's where you roughly know you want to place it, okay? Now remember, if you imagine I haven't cut it, this will be really long, okay? So then measure about here and then with your scissors cut it all off before you let it open. It's a lot easier to chop like one big piece rather than doing it in bits all the way around. Does that make sense? Because it's not on the end. So you sort of find your gauge and then you just chop it off at the bottom, okay? And then you have your bouquet facing you. What I'm just going to do is where I've gathered it, I'm just now going to take this piece all the way around. And it's sometimes quite nice actually to leave the cellophane a bit longer. Mine has been chopped a little bit because it creates a skirt. And then you'll have a bit more of a skirt coming here. roughly meet. And just put a bit of tape just to keep it in place. But at the same time, you want an even amount all the way around, okay? Because you could get marked for unevenness. You don't have the same amount of cellophane shown all the way around. So I'm just sort of loosening it and just pulling it up a little bit. And then I would finally tie it. But some people use like different kind of cellophanes and stuff like that as well. So you could do that if you don't want your pack showing. Or the fabric wrap that's over in the corner. People have done that around the outside, and then the fabric carries on here. And obviously you wouldn't see the pack underneath. Mine's a bit short, so you wouldn't want it that short. So it's got a bit cut, yeah. So it's a bit longer, so it flares as a skirt on the table. And then at this stage, then I would add my water into it as well. But it's just a different wrapping style. It's just something maybe to explore, because we do the traditional. I'm just schedule a second like this. Yeah, go round. 2 of them. Yeah, I don't know. Some people do that. That's okay. It works. But this may be a way, if you know that distinctive use of material, showing different styles, showing how you can use different materials in a different way. Using different colours. So that would go on the outside. But the only thing I'd personally say is my cellophane is far too short, so it needs to come longer. Because what I'd like to do is have it as reflect this and actually flare out here.
Would you rather got the same length as the...
Yeah, if anything, maybe a wee bit longer, so it just flickers a little bit, possibly. Out, yeah. So this would be a very, if anyone wants to practice wrapping this, I'm very happy for you to take it apart if you want to today and have a practice with this bouquet that's been made up. If you just want to have a go at the wrapping, it's fine, yeah? So I can leave it there for anyone else to. Everyone's tastes are different, but I think it can be really effective, especially when you're adding the different colours and things.